Welcome to the Foundry by Forge College. I am so excited to be here with you today because, well, we are officially stepping off the drawing board and right onto the factory floor. Think of this explainer as an assembly line. We're going to take those theoretical smart contract blueprints you designed in our last lesson on modular architecture, and we're going to fabricate a real working machine. Yep, it's time to get our hands dirty and write some actual code.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our literal schematic overview for today's fabrication process. 1. Welcome to the lab. 2. The core engine. 3. The royalty gear. 4. Customizable attachments. 5. Assembly and testing. And finally 6. Recap.
Just to anchor ourselves for a second, we are officially shifting from the design phase to hands-on implementation. We've mapped out the logic, the pathways, the upgradeability trade-offs, all that good stuff. Now, it's time to put on your hard hats, pun absolutely intended there, because we are going to build 3 distinct modular components in Solidity, and then wire them all together to make an advanced ERC-721 token with dynamic features.
But before we fire up the compiler, let's just take a quick look at the parts inventory sitting on our workbench. We basically have 3 separate files to build. First up is core ERC-721.sol, which is our engine. Its sole purpose is handling mints and transfers. Next is royalty module.sol, our accounting gear, for handling EIP 2091 responses. And finally, metadata hooks.sol, the attachment that lets us make controlled updates to our token's data. Building these in isolation, it ensures each module has a single responsibility, which, trust me, makes them way easier to test and compose later on. All right, let's transition to the first station on our assembly line, Section 1, the core ERC-721 engine. The true beauty of this core engine is its absolute simplicity. We literally do not need to reinvent the wheel here. We're just going to import the battle-tested Open Zeppelin standard ERC-721 contract. Our constructor will initialize the basic token name and symbol, and then we just expose an external mint function. This external function delegates all the heavy lifting to Open Zeppelin's internal _SafeMint function. Basically, this module provides the foundational plumbing, the core ability to create and transfer tokens that absolutely everything else is going to attach to. So with the engine built, let's move right along to our accounting gear. Section 2, the royalty interface module. Now, if you've been around Web3 for a minute, you've definitely heard a ton of technical jargon around royalties. Let's just bust that jargon right now, okay? EIP 2981 is simply a predictable way for marketplaces to ask our token a very specific question. Hey, who gets paid and exactly how much? By implementing this standardized interface, we make sure that whether our token is sold on OpenSea, Blur, or some custom marketplace you build, the platform knows exactly how to route the creator's cut. No guesswork involved. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we actually handle the math inside that royalty gear. Solidity, the language we're writing in, does not natively handle decimals, none at all. If you try to calculate 2.5% directly, the compiler will be very, very unhappy with you. So we use basis points, or BPS. 1 basis point is exactly 1/100th of 1%. This means if we want a 5% royalty, we just use the integer 500. We multiply the sale price by 500 and then divide by 10,000. It's a brilliantly simple workaround. It completely stops our smart contracts math from breaking down and guarantees accurate accounting down to the smallest possible fraction. All right, that covers the engine and the gears. Let's transition to the third part of our build. Section 3, dynamic metadata update hooks. Most basic NFTs out there have completely static metadata, right? Once it's minted, the image, the attributes, they never change. But we are building an advanced dynamic token. This specific module allows us to persist a string, typically an IPFS pointer, directly on-chain. But more importantly, when we update this pointer, the module emits a very specific metadata updated event. This is absolutely crucial because off-chain indexers are constantly listening. When they hear that event, they know exactly which token's data just changed, which allows the visual representation of our NFT to evolve in real time. It's like magic, but it's just really good code. But of course, this introduces a pretty massive problem. If the metadata can change and the royalty rates can be set, how do we stop just anyone from walking up to our machine and tampering with the settings? I mean, think about it. If we leave these functions wide open, some random person on the internet could easily route all your hard-earned royalties to their own wallet, or, I don't know, change your beautiful NFT artwork into a picture of a potato. We definitely don't want that. So the solution here is the controller pattern. You can think of this as installing a massive heavy-duty padlock right on the machine's control panel.
by storing an authorized controller address in our contract, which is usually the deployer or a dedicated smart wallet, and adding an only controller modifier to our sensitive functions, we guarantee that only we can pull the levers. It brilliantly keeps the core logic completely open for marketplaces to read while strictly locking down all the write permissions. Okay, we have our 3 isolated modules built. Now for Section 4, Assembly and Basic Testing. Naturally, as anyone going through Forge College learning programs will tell you, we absolutely never deploy a machine without thoroughly testing what we just built. So we've written the isolated code, we've stitched together a composite contract using inheritance, and we've locked it down tight. The million-dollar question is, does the assembled machine actually work? We need to run our first local unit test to make absolutely sure this thing doesn't immediately catch fire the second we turn the key. To run this test fire, we're going to use our local Hardhat testing checklist. First up, we run npx hardhat compile. Then we run our basic test script using npx hardhat test. Finally, we verify that our metadata events are actually firing correctly. A quick word of advice here. Seriously, keep your commits small and iterative. Test constantly. Unless, of course, you really enjoy untangling massive knots of spaghetti code at 3 a.m., because I definitely don't. So the crucial point is knowing exactly what success looks like on your terminal screen. What good looks like is fourfold. First, 0 compilers, meaning the compiler isn't screaming at you about missing imports or incorrect visibility. Second, our metadata storage assertions actually pass. Third, the basis point math perfectly aligns to output the exact royalty amount we expected. And fourth, our metadata updated events are triggering perfectly so off-chain indexers aren't left in the dark. And hey, if your terminal is showing all green checkmarks right now, congratulations. You have successfully assembled a modular, dynamic smart contract. Let's jump to Section 5, Recap and Next Steps. I really want you to think of these 3 concrete principles of modular implementation as the essential safety guidelines printed at the very back of an engineering manual. Number 1, keep interfaces small and predictable. Your royalty function shouldn't care about the marketplace's fee policy at all. It should literally just return the receiver and the amount. Number 2, align access controls consistently. Use a single controller pattern across all your modules to simplify testing. And number 3, test early and iteratively. Let these minimal unit tests become the bedrock for your future optimizations.
So our machine is built, and it runs without exploding, which is frankly great news. But that leaves us with one final, rather provocative question. How much gas does this machine actually burn, and how can we optimize the engine to run leaner and faster? That exact question sets the stage for our next lesson on deep dive testing and gas optimization. I really hope you found this hands-on lab incredibly helpful. To learn more about this subject, dive into the next lesson, or explore other fantastic Web3 related topics, make sure to visit forge.college. Keep building, and I will see you in the next one.